Not alone. This time to die for her.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Fan engagement with the Twilight universe has evolved into a dynamic, interactive culture where audiences actively participate in storytelling. Beyond reading novels or watching films, fans produce fanfiction, digital artwork, videos, and cosplay that reinterpret and expand the saga's universe. These creations often explore alternative storylines, character development, and hypothetical sequels, including Twilight Saga. By doing so, the fan community not only maintains the saga's relevance but also enriches it, creating a collaborative cultural ecosystem where audiences become co-creators of narrative meaning. The emotional resonance of Twilight continues to drive its cultural longevity. Romantic tension, moral dilemmas, and ethical complexity captivate audiences because they reflect universal human experiences. Bella's choices, Edward's dilemmas, and Jacob's loyalty serve as archetypal representations of love, responsibility, and personal growth. Fan narratives, particularly those imagining Twilight Saga, build upon these emotional foundations, exploring how new characters navigate similar challenges in a world that is both fantastical and morally intricate. Cultural and global impact of the saga is evident in its widespread translation, distribution, and international fan communities. Audiences across continents engage with the saga through conventions, online forums, and social media platforms. The universality of its themes, love, identity, morality, and self-discovery, enables the saga to transcend cultural boundaries. Fan-created content often reflects local cultural perspectives, adapting the story to resonate within different contexts while preserving the saga's core motifs. The saga's exploration of morality and ethical responsibility has inspired scholarly analysis and debate. Academics examine its treatment of power, choice, and relational dynamics, highlighting the series' depth beyond entertainment. Fan narratives, particularly those imagining Twilight Saga, often expand these themes, exploring intergenerational responsibility, the ethics of supernatural power, and the consequences of choices that ripple across communities. This intellectual engagement demonstrates that the saga continues to serve as a meaningful cultural and philosophical touchstone. Romantic relationships in fan-created Twilight Saga scenarios are frequently depicted with heightened complexity. The interplay between love, loyalty, and moral responsibility drives both character development and plot. Fans imagine nuanced dynamics between Renesmee, Jacob, and other potential characters, exploring how relationships evolve under pressure from ethical dilemmas, societal expectations, and supernatural challenges. These narratives preserve the saga's hallmark tension between emotional intensity and moral consequence. The saga's supernatural world-building continues to inspire creative expansions. Fan narratives introduce diverse vampire lineages, hybrid powers, and global supernatural councils, exploring themes of diplomacy, governance, and justice. By imagining new societies, rules, and hierarchies, fans extend the narrative universe while remaining consistent with the saga's thematic framework. These expansions allow for exploration of ethical decision-making in complex, multi-layered worlds, emphasizing responsibility, leadership, and relational negotiation. Ethical dilemmas are central to fan-created continuations, ensuring narrative depth and continuity with the original saga. Characters confront difficult choices that test loyalty, morality, and personal values. Whether deciding how to use supernatural abilities, how to navigate interspecies conflicts, or how to balance love with duty, these dilemmas maintain the saga's engagement with philosophical reflection. Fan narratives often expand on these moral challenges, creating stories that are emotionally resonant and intellectually engaging. Hybrid powers are a particularly rich avenue for storytelling in imagined sequels. Renesmee's combination of human resilience and vampire strength introduces both opportunities and ethical challenges. Fan-created narratives explore how these abilities impact interpersonal relationships, societal obligations, and personal development. By highlighting the ethical weight of supernatural power, these stories reinforce the saga's thematic focus on responsibility, morality, and the consequences of choice. Intergenerational dynamics remain a recurring theme in Twilight 6 fan narratives. Younger characters often negotiate expectations set by older generations, balancing respect for tradition with the need for autonomy and innovation. These interactions explore themes of mentorship, legacy, and ethical continuity. By emphasizing the complexity of intergenerational relationships, fan narratives maintain narrative cohesion while introducing new perspectives and challenges. The saga's visual and cinematic style is meticulously preserved in fan-created media. Misty forests, dramatic skies, and carefully designed character aesthetics recreate the immersive atmosphere of the films. These elements not only enhance visual continuity but also reinforce emotional and thematic resonance. By adhering to the saga's aesthetic language, fan narratives maintain authenticity while expanding the universe through imaginative storytelling. Fan narratives often explore historical and hidden dimensions of the saga's world. Ancient vampire lineages, secret conflicts, and long-standing ethical dilemmas provide context for contemporary events. By integrating historical depth, these stories add layers of complexity and moral nuance, demonstrating how the saga's mythology can be both expansive and intricately detailed. This attention to lore enriches the narrative universe and enhances engagement. Romantic tension continues to intersect with ethical decision-making in hypothetical sequels. Love influences choices, alliances, and conflict resolution, underscoring the saga's thematic intertwining of emotion and morality. Fan-created stories explore alternative romantic outcomes, love triangles, and ethical challenges, reinforcing the narrative's focus on relational complexity and emotional depth. Global engagement with the saga fosters a sense of shared cultural experience. Fans across countries create content that reflects local interpretations of universal themes. Online communities allow for collaboration, discussion, and creative exchange, ensuring that the saga remains a living narrative. This global participation highlights Twilight's capacity to resonate across diverse cultural and linguistic contexts. The psychological implications of immortality are a common theme in fan narratives. Characters navigate long-term relational commitments, existential reflection, and ethical challenges posed by extended lifespans. These explorations maintain the saga's intellectual depth while offering insights into human concerns projected onto supernatural frameworks, demonstrating the saga's capacity for profound thematic exploration. Modern settings and technological integration are often incorporated into speculative sequels. Vampire societies interact with global networks, modern communication, and societal evolution, creating new narrative tensions. These storylines demonstrate the saga's adaptability, allowing it to remain relevant to contemporary audiences while maintaining thematic consistency with the original narrative universe. Character growth in fan-created Twilight 6 stories mirrors the original saga's developmental arcs. Protagonists face internal conflicts, relational challenges, and ethical dilemmas that foster maturation and self-awareness. By maintaining a focus on personal development, fans ensure continuity with the saga's themes while exploring new generational perspectives. Strategic and ethical problem-solving is central to speculative narratives. Characters employ intelligence, diplomacy, and moral reasoning to navigate complex conflicts, balancing supernatural power with ethical responsibility. These elements preserve the saga's thematic sophistication and provide a compelling framework for audience engagement. Romantic and ethical tensions remain deeply intertwined in fan narratives. Emotional bonds influence strategic choices, alliance formation, and conflict resolution. By exploring the interplay between love and morality, fan-created storylines maintain narrative coherence and thematic richness, ensuring that relational complexity drives both character development and plot. Moral responsibility is depicted at multiple levels: individual, familial, and societal. Characters navigate inherited ethical frameworks, communal obligations, and supernatural hierarchies, negotiating the balance between autonomy and collective welfare. Fan-created narratives emphasize these dynamics, reinforcing the saga's exploration of morality, loyalty, and ethical continuity across generations. Finally, the enduring fascination with a potential Twilight 6 underscores the saga's cultural, narrative, and emotional resonance. Through fan media, academic study, global engagement, and ongoing reinterpretation, the universe continues to inspire creativity, discussion, and emotional investment. Themes of love, morality, identity, and supernatural intrigue remain central, ensuring that the Twilight Saga endures as a significant and richly layered cultural phenomenon. The world begins to stabilize after the Volturi truce, yet subtle ripples of unrest continue to challenge Renesmee and her allies. Small factions of vampires remain skeptical of hybrids, believing that their unchecked powers could disrupt centuries-old traditions. Renesmee, fully aware of the fragility of peace, takes a proactive approach by personally visiting these covens. She demonstrates the ethical use of hybrid powers, showcasing how self-control, empathy, and unity can transform fear into cooperation. Jacob oversees a series of training camps for younger werewolves, many of whom have grown up observing the hybrid vampire dynamics. He integrates lessons learned from recent battles, focusing not just on strength and agility but also on diplomacy, ethical decision-making, and interspecies collaboration. The younger wolves begin to see hybrids as partners rather than potential threats, further solidifying the fragile alliances formed during conflict. Meanwhile, Bella and Edward explore global diplomatic outreach, establishing communication networks with supernatural communities previously isolated or unknown. Their goal is to foster understanding, reduce prejudice, and create mechanisms to quickly address emerging conflicts. These efforts reveal the vastness of the supernatural world, uncovering new abilities, covens, and species whose existence had remained hidden for centuries. Renesmee begins mentoring a new generation of hybrids with even more extraordinary abilities than her own. One young girl possesses the ability to manipulate time perception, slowing or accelerating moments for short durations. Another hybrid can create protective barriers that ripple across wide areas. Each mentoring session is both educational and deeply emotional, as Renesmee helps these young beings understand not only their power but the profound responsibility it carries. Jacob continues to grapple with the evolving nature of his relationship with Renesmee. While their connection remains unbreakable, he learns that leadership and partnership require patience, understanding, and sometimes self-restraint. Together, they explore strategies for balancing personal bonds with the needs of an ever-growing supernatural population. The Cullen family undertakes projects to reintegrate hybrids and vampires into human society where possible, creating safe zones that maintain secrecy but also allow controlled interaction. Schools, hospitals, and environmental projects are staffed by hybrids whose abilities benefit both humans and supernatural allies. This integration reinforces the saga's recurring theme: coexistence through understanding, respect, and moral guidance. Alice begins experiencing visions of potential future conflicts, revealing not only threats from the Volturi remnants but also from supernatural beings previously unknown. These premonitions guide strategic planning, allowing Renesmee and the Cullen coalition to prepare for emerging dangers before they fully materialize. The interplay of foresight, preparation, and moral action becomes a central focus of their leadership. Jasper continues teaching emotional regulation to hybrids, emphasizing that unchecked emotions can destabilize both powers and relationships. Through targeted exercises, he helps young hybrids learn to navigate fear, anger, and excitement, strengthening both their control and their empathy. This training becomes essential for maintaining cohesion in the diverse supernatural community. A subplot unfolds with a hybrid named Leora, whose fire-based abilities are intense but volatile. Renesmee works closely with her, guiding Leora through exercises in control, ethical use, and restraint. Leora's progress mirrors the broader narrative: power alone is insufficient, discipline, empathy, and mentorship are essential. Jacob leads a diplomatic mission to distant werewolf packs who have historically distrusted vampires and hybrids. Through demonstrations of cooperative strategy, shared training exercises, and open dialogue, he begins to bridge generational divides, fostering a sense of unity across species and geographies. Renesmee explores new territories with hybrid scouts, discovering pockets of supernatural communities that have lived in isolation for centuries. She learns of beings with elemental manipulation, psychic abilities, and unique hybrid traits that challenge previous understanding. Each encounter expands her worldview and underscores the ongoing evolution of the supernatural ecosystem. Bella and Edward assist in documenting these discoveries, creating a codex of supernatural knowledge that blends history, power ethics, and strategic guidance. Their work ensures that future generations have access to lessons learned, successes, and failures, preserving both knowledge and moral perspective. Tensions occasionally arise when human curiosity threatens to uncover supernatural secrets. Renesmee leads subtle interventions to redirect human attention, using both her hybrid abilities and diplomacy to protect identities without creating fear or disruption. These missions highlight the delicate balance between influence, ethics, and protection of innocence. Jacob develops specialized training protocols combining werewolf strength with hybrid powers, creating integrated units capable of rapid response and multidimensional problem solving. These exercises test leadership, communication, and the ethical application of abilities, preparing participants for challenges that transcend raw combat. Renesmee mentors Kaelin and Seraphine, both of whom have grown significantly since the Volturi confrontation. Kaelin's sound manipulation is now precise and controlled, while Seraphine's healing powers allow her to stabilize even severe injuries. Their growth symbolizes the potential of guidance, training, and moral grounding to transform raw talent into disciplined ability. The Cullen family hosts annual gatherings of vampires, hybrids, and werewolves, creating opportunities for collaboration, celebration, and cultural exchange. These gatherings strengthen alliances, showcase achievements, and maintain morale, emphasizing that peace requires active nurturing, not mere absence of conflict. Alice's visions occasionally reveal ethical dilemmas rather than physical threats, challenging leaders to make difficult decisions about hybrid powers, coven disputes, or human exposure. Renesmee's ability to balance moral reasoning with decisive action becomes central, demonstrating the saga's emphasis on leadership guided by empathy and ethics. Jacob and Renesmee work to formalize a mentorship council, ensuring that future leaders are trained not just in abilities but in responsibility, strategy, and ethical decision-making. This council becomes the backbone of the new supernatural order, symbolizing hope, continuity, and evolution. Bella and Edward enjoy moments of quiet reflection, observing the next generation thriving and learning. Their roles have shifted from protectors and fighters to advisors and moral guides, reinforcing the enduring theme that love, wisdom, and guidance are as essential as strength and power. Finally, the story closes with a panoramic vision of the supernatural world in balance. Hybrids, vampires, werewolves, and humans coexist cautiously but respectfully. Renesmee stands with Jacob at the edge of a forest, overlooking communities she has helped nurture, reflecting on the journey from fear and uncertainty to empowerment and unity. The saga ends not with closure but with promise, an ongoing story of coexistence, evolution, and hope, ensuring that the legacy of the immortal world continues in capable and ethical hands. In the weeks following the film's release, fan reactions were overwhelmingly positive. Audiences praised the depth of Renesmee's character, her growth from a hybrid child into a capable leader, and the expansion of the supernatural world. Social media was flooded with discussions analyzing her abilities, the Umbral Court, and the global alliances formed within the story. Fan theories and artwork proliferated, reflecting engagement and excitement for the franchise's evolution. Critics highlighted the film's balance of action and emotional depth. They noted that the global expansion of vampire and hybrid lore added complexity without losing the intimate character moments that had defined the series. Renesmee's journey was cited as a central triumph, demonstrating that a young character could carry both narrative weight and emotional resonance. Merchandising saw a significant surge, with collectible figurines, apparel, and replica artifacts from the film capturing fan interest. The design team collaborated closely with production to ensure authenticity, offering products that reflected both the aesthetic and narrative elements of the story. Limited edition items depicting Renesmee's hybrid abilities and the Umbral Court's iconic attire became particularly sought after. Renesmee's narrative arc provided inspiration for a new generation of fans, emphasizing themes of responsibility, empathy, and ethical leadership. Educational content and discussion guides were developed around these themes, fostering conversation about morality, power, and identity in both supernatural and real-world contexts. The film's soundtrack received acclaim for complementing the narrative without overpowering it. The blend of orchestral and electronic elements effectively underscored both intimate character moments and large-scale battles. Key tracks associated with Renesmee's growth and pivotal confrontations became fan favorites, often referenced in discussions of cinematic music. Cast interviews revealed insights into the challenges and rewards of portraying characters at such pivotal points in their arcs. Mackenzie Foy discussed the complexity of embodying a hybrid with immense power while maintaining human emotion. Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart reflected on their characters' evolution, sharing perspectives on parenting, mentorship, and guidance within immortal lives. Taylor Lautner emphasized the transformation of Jacob's role from protector to strategic partner, highlighting the nuances of imprinting as both emotional bond and tactical asset. He shared anecdotes from filming cooperative action sequences with Renesmee, revealing the intricate choreography and trust required to execute realistic supernatural interactions. The production team released a detailed behind-the-scenes feature, showcasing the creative and technical processes involved. Audiences were shown how visual effects, stunt coordination, and set design combined to create immersive supernatural battles. The feature also highlighted Renesmee's training montages, demonstrating how narrative and cinematic artistry intertwine to portray growth and leadership. Renesmee's character became a focal point for discussions about representation of young female leadership in fantasy media. Commentators praised the film for portraying a young female character navigating complex moral and practical challenges, demonstrating agency, courage, and strategic intelligence. The Umbral Court's lore sparked renewed interest in hybrid mythology within the franchise. Academic articles and fan discussions explored the historical implications, ethical dilemmas, and narrative symbolism associated with these ancient beings. The inclusion of global covens and hybrid factions expanded the universe, offering potential for spin-offs, novels, or animated adaptations. Renesmee's relationship with Jacob was widely celebrated, noted for its balance of emotional depth, mutual respect, and cooperative problem-solving. Their interactions served as a model for healthy, supportive relationships in fantasy narratives, blending romance, loyalty, and tactical collaboration. The Cullens' portrayal reinforced themes of family, unity, and resilience. Each member's role highlighted the importance of trust, mentorship, and collaboration, emphasizing that even supernatural power requires grounding in moral and emotional guidance. Fans praised the continued focus on familial bonds as a counterbalance to epic conflicts. Global vampire and hybrid communities in the story were depicted with cultural sensitivity and depth. This portrayal allowed audiences to explore diverse supernatural societies, emphasizing diplomacy, alliance building, and cross-cultural cooperation. The representation added richness and credibility to the world building. Renesmee's continued training and mentorship programs hinted at potential future storylines. Her guidance of younger hybrids, diplomacy with distant covens, and proactive global defense efforts suggested that her journey was ongoing, providing fertile ground for sequels, spin-offs, or extended universe content. The film's visual effects set new franchise benchmarks. The seamless integration of supernatural speed, illusion, and psychic ability created immersive experiences without distracting from character-driven storytelling. Audiences noted the fluidity and realism of action sequences, praising the balance between spectacle and narrative clarity. Marketing campaigns leveraged interactive online experiences, including digital maps, character dossiers, and augmented reality elements. Fans could explore the supernatural world, learn about hybrid powers, and engage in narrative-driven challenges. These initiatives deepened engagement and expanded the franchise's transmedia presence. Renesmee's leadership arc was reinforced through sequences showing coalition meetings, global strategy sessions, and mediation between factions. These moments highlighted intelligence, empathy, and diplomacy as vital components of power, reinforcing narrative themes that extended beyond the supernatural context. The epilogue suggested a future filled with both promise and vigilance. While the Umbral Court had been defeated, residual threats remained, and alliances required ongoing maintenance. Renesmee's role as a leader, mediator, and symbol of hybrid potential set the stage for continued adventures and challenges. The film concluded with a montage reflecting personal growth, family unity, and global connections. Scenes showed Renesmee training, mentoring young hybrids, and collaborating with allies worldwide, while Jacob, Edward, Bella, and the Cullens observed, supported, and guided. The visual storytelling emphasized continuity, legacy, and the balance of power with responsibility. Fans left theaters and streaming platforms inspired, discussing Renesmee's evolution, the expanded lore, and the cinematic achievements of the franchise. The combination of character depth, visual spectacle, and thematic richness reinforced the Twilight Saga's enduring appeal, ensuring that Dawn of Eternity would be remembered as a pivotal installment in the saga's history. The Twilight Saga's influence on global pop culture is undeniable, as it has inspired countless imitations, adaptations, and references across media. Its distinctive blend of romance, ethical complexity, and supernatural intrigue has become a template for contemporary young adult fiction and cinema. Fan-created narratives, including speculations about Twilight 6, extend this influence by exploring new storylines, introducing additional supernatural elements, and expanding character arcs. This ongoing creative engagement demonstrates the saga's lasting appeal and its capacity to inspire imaginative reinterpretation across generations. One of the saga's most notable contributions is its treatment of love as a complex, multidimensional force. Romantic relationships drive narrative momentum while intersecting with moral dilemmas, family obligations, and supernatural responsibilities. Fan-created narratives expand upon these dynamics, exploring not only the central bond between Renesmee and Jacob but also alternative romantic possibilities, ethical complications, and intergenerational consequences. By weaving romance into broader narrative and ethical contexts, Twilight remains emotionally compelling and thematically rich. Character development continues to be a hallmark of the saga. Protagonists are multidimensional, evolving through both personal experience and interaction with supernatural society. Renesmee's potential role in Twilight 6 exemplifies this, as she navigates challenges that require ethical discernment, emotional resilience, and strategic thinking. Fan-created narratives explore her internal growth, moral reasoning, and relational development, ensuring that character evolution remains central to storytelling. The saga's treatment of ethical responsibility is nuanced and layered. Characters are repeatedly confronted with dilemmas that force them to weigh personal desire against the welfare of others. Whether negotiating interspecies alliances, mediating conflicts, or making decisions with far-reaching consequences, these ethical challenges are central to both the original saga and fan-created continuations. By emphasizing the consequences of choice, Twilight engages audiences intellectually while providing emotional resonance. Global vampire politics are a major theme in speculative narratives. Fan-created storylines often depict vampire societies in negotiation with one another, creating intricate political landscapes that mirror human social complexity. These interactions involve questions of justice, loyalty, and moral responsibility, highlighting the saga's capacity to explore governance and ethics in imaginative ways. By extending the saga beyond Forks, fans create a world that is both expansive and morally intricate. The Volturi remain an essential element in hypothetical sequels, often serving as both antagonists and moral counterpoints. Fan narratives explore their internal politics, rivalries, and interpretations of vampire law, presenting them as complex entities rather than simple villains. This nuanced portrayal reinforces the saga's focus on moral ambiguity, authority, and the consequences of power, deepening narrative engagement and thematic richness. Hybrid abilities, particularly those of Renesmee, continue to drive narrative tension and ethical exploration. Her powers, a combination of human adaptability and vampire strength, create scenarios that test moral judgment, relational responsibility, and strategic thinking. Fan-created narratives examine how these abilities influence decisions, mediate conflicts, and challenge established supernatural norms, maintaining thematic continuity while offering new narrative possibilities. Intergenerational dynamics are a recurring theme in imagined continuations. Younger characters frequently confront expectations set by older vampire hierarchies, balancing respect for tradition with the need for autonomy and innovation. These narratives explore mentorship, legacy, and ethical responsibility, emphasizing continuity while introducing fresh perspectives. By focusing on intergenerational negotiation, fan narratives sustain thematic complexity and narrative cohesion. The saga's visual and cinematic style continues to influence fan-created media. Atmospheric settings, character design, and dramatic lighting are meticulously replicated, preserving the immersive quality of the original films. This aesthetic fidelity reinforces emotional resonance and narrative consistency, allowing speculative narratives to feel authentic within the established universe. Fans often use these visual cues to enhance storytelling, demonstrating deep engagement with the saga's artistic language. Fan-created narratives frequently explore untold histories and hidden lore. Ancient vampire lineages, long-standing rivalries, and moral legacies are woven into contemporary storylines, enriching the narrative universe. By integrating historical depth, these stories add layers of complexity, ethical nuance, and narrative sophistication, creating a more immersive and multidimensional experience for audiences. Romantic tension continues to intersect with ethical and political challenges in fan narratives. Love influences character decisions, alliances, and conflict resolution, reinforcing the saga's thematic intertwining of emotion and morality. Fans explore alternative romantic outcomes, love triangles, and relational dilemmas, ensuring that emotional engagement remains central to narrative development while maintaining thematic depth. Global engagement sustains the saga's cultural impact. Audiences from diverse backgrounds contribute fanfiction, art, and discussion, creating a dynamic, participatory culture. Online communities provide spaces for collaboration, debate, and creative exchange, demonstrating Twilight's capacity to resonate across cultural and linguistic boundaries. This global participation reinforces the saga's universality and enduring appeal. The psychological implications of immortality are a recurring focus in fan-created narratives. Characters navigate existential concerns, long-term relational commitments, and ethical responsibilities, reflecting the saga's exploration of human experience through supernatural metaphors. By examining these themes, fans maintain intellectual depth while adding emotional complexity, highlighting the saga's capacity for profound storytelling. Speculative narratives frequently integrate contemporary technology and societal developments. Vampire communities interact with global communication networks, digital platforms, and social evolution, creating new narrative tensions and opportunities. These scenarios ensure the saga remains relevant to modern audiences while adhering to established mythos, demonstrating the flexibility and adaptability of its universe. Character growth remains central to fan-created Twilight Saga storylines. Protagonists confront internal conflicts, ethical dilemmas, and relational challenges, fostering maturity, resilience, and self-awareness. By emphasizing personal development alongside supernatural and political intrigue, fans preserve thematic continuity while exploring new generational perspectives, sustaining narrative richness. Strategic and ethical problem-solving is a consistent motif. Characters navigate complex challenges by combining intelligence, diplomacy, and moral reasoning, balancing supernatural ability with ethical responsibility. Fan narratives often highlight these aspects, reflecting the saga's engagement with leadership, decision-making, and relational negotiation, enhancing both narrative and thematic depth. Romantic and ethical tensions are deeply intertwined in speculative sequels. Emotional bonds shape decisions, influence alliances, and determine outcomes, maintaining the saga's integration of love with morality. Fan-created stories often explore relational complexity, alternative outcomes, and interspecies dynamics, ensuring that romance continues to drive narrative tension and thematic exploration. Moral responsibility is depicted at individual, familial, and societal levels. Characters navigate inherited ethical frameworks, communal obligations, and supernatural hierarchies, negotiating autonomy with collective welfare. Fan narratives emphasize these dynamics, highlighting the saga's nuanced exploration of ethics, loyalty, and relational accountability across generations. Aesthetic continuity is crucial in fan adaptations. Environmental detail, character design, and cinematic composition are carefully maintained, preserving the immersive quality of the universe. By adhering to the saga's visual and narrative style, fan narratives ensure that new storylines resonate authentically with established lore, enhancing both emotional and thematic impact. Narrative expansion often involves multi-generational storytelling. Hypothetical sequels explore interactions between established characters and new protagonists, emphasizing mentorship, legacy, and continuity. This approach maintains coherence while introducing new perspectives and conflicts, enriching the saga's universe and sustaining audience engagement. Finally, the sustained fascination with a potential Twilight Saga underscores the saga's enduring cultural, narrative, and emotional significance. Through fan media, scholarly study, global participation, and creative reinterpretation, the Twilight universe continues to inspire imagination, debate, and emotional investment. Themes of love, morality, identity, and supernatural intrigue remain central, guaranteeing the saga's lasting relevance as a culturally significant, richly layered narrative phenomenon. Renesmee begins a series of exploratory missions into uncharted supernatural territories, seeking to understand the evolution of hybrid abilities and the limits of her own powers. She is accompanied by select hybrids and a few trusted vampires, each chosen for their unique skills and ability to work cohesively. These journeys uncover civilizations that have adapted to supernatural life in ways previously unknown, including hybrid villages hidden within dense forests, isolated mountains, and remote islands. Jacob and his werewolf pack accompany some of these expeditions, providing security and insight into local supernatural dynamics. The werewolves' acute senses and deep understanding of territorial behavior prove invaluable in navigating unfamiliar regions. Jacob also uses these missions to teach younger wolves about diplomacy, observation, and restraint, emphasizing that strength alone is insufficient for leadership. Bella and Edward expand their role as advisors, using their combined foresight and analytical abilities to anticipate potential threats and opportunities. They act as coordinators, helping teams make decisions in real time while balancing risk and ethical responsibility. Their guidance ensures that each mission is not only tactically successful but aligned with the moral framework they have instilled in the younger generation. During one expedition, Renesmee discovers a hidden coven of vampires who have evolved independently for centuries. These vampires possess rare elemental manipulation abilities, including water and earth control. Their approach to power is governed by strict moral codes, and their integration into the broader supernatural community requires careful negotiation, patience, and trust building. A subplot develops around a young hybrid named Oriana, whose abilities allow her to perceive emotional states with extreme clarity. While powerful, Oriana initially struggles with the overwhelming influx of feelings from those around her. Renesmee works closely with her, teaching emotional filtering, ethical judgment, and the importance of consent in influencing others' feelings. Oriana's growth mirrors the saga's ongoing exploration of power and responsibility. Jacob faces internal challenges as factions within his pack question the increasing reliance on hybrids. He addresses these tensions by fostering dialogue, demonstrating successful collaboration, and highlighting shared victories. These interactions explore themes of prejudice, adaptation, and the evolving nature of leadership. The Cullen family continues to expand global outreach. They organize conferences where covens, hybrid leaders, and werewolf representatives share knowledge, best practices, and emerging research on abilities. These gatherings foster innovation, cross-training, and a shared sense of purpose among previously isolated groups. Renesmee develops an academy designed to train hybrids in both physical abilities and moral reasoning. The curriculum includes combat strategy, environmental stewardship, ethical decision-making, and interspecies diplomacy. The academy becomes a cornerstone for future leadership and a model for responsible use of power. Alice begins mentoring hybrids with predictive abilities, teaching them to harness visions responsibly. She emphasizes that foresight is a tool, not a determinant of action, and guides students in balancing intuition with reason. These lessons prevent potential misuse of precognition and reinforce ethical leadership principles. Jasper leads training on emotional resilience, focusing on hybrids and vampires who struggle with volatility in high-stress situations. He demonstrates techniques for self-regulation, calming allies, and influencing opponents ethically, ensuring that combat and negotiation remain disciplined and morally sound. A new subplot involves hybrids discovering latent abilities previously unknown. For example, one hybrid can influence plant growth at accelerated rates, while another manipulates minor gravitational effects. Renesmee carefully evaluates these powers, ensuring they are honed for constructive purposes rather than domination or harm. Jacob oversees hybrid werewolf integration exercises, designing challenges that require coordination, problem-solving, and ethical decision-making. These exercises highlight the necessity of trust, communication, and mutual respect between species. Young hybrids and wolves learn to anticipate each other's strengths, adapt to unexpected challenges, and act as cohesive units. Bella and Edward continue documenting these developments, creating a comprehensive encyclopedia of supernatural knowledge. This living document includes history, ethics, strategic guidance, and personal narratives, ensuring that future generations benefit from both experience and insight. Renesmee establishes mentorship partnerships between experienced hybrids and new recruits, fostering peer-to-peer learning and strengthening social bonds. These partnerships emphasize collaboration, empathy, and ethical guidance, reinforcing the saga's central theme that power is inseparable from responsibility. The Volturi, though weakened and restrained, remain observant. Cassion's absence has left internal power struggles, creating opportunities for diplomacy and reconciliation. Renesmee uses subtle influence and demonstrations of ethical leadership to prevent resurgence of authoritarian control, solidifying a peaceful yet cautious coexistence. A subplot develops with a young hybrid named Celine, whose ability to manipulate light creates both tactical advantages and social challenges. Renesmee guides Celine through ethical use, teaching restraint, discretion, and the consequences of misuse, highlighting the ongoing moral education essential for hybrids. Jacob faces a challenge when a previously unknown pack demonstrates hostility toward hybrids. Using diplomacy, coordinated exercises, and demonstrations of hybrid werewolf collaboration, he successfully integrates them, expanding alliances and reducing potential conflict zones. Renesmee embarks on a project to map global supernatural communities, cataloging abilities, coven histories, and potential areas of concern. This strategic mapping enhances preparedness, enables better coordination, and helps predict future conflicts or opportunities for collaboration. Bella and Edward oversee advanced training programs, combining hybrid abilities with strategy, diplomacy, and ethical frameworks. The curriculum includes simulated crisis scenarios, conflict resolution exercises, and leadership mentoring, preparing the next generation for challenges that could reshape the supernatural world. Finally, the narrative concludes this extended section with a vision of stability, hope, and growth. Hybrids, vampires, werewolves, and humans coexist in a network of mutual respect, guided by ethical principles, careful mentorship, and a shared understanding of the responsibilities inherent in supernatural power. Renesmee and Jacob stand together, surveying the communities they have helped nurture, symbolizing the ongoing legacy of balance, wisdom, and the promise of continued evolution. Fan speculation about Twilight 6 continues to thrive, with audiences imagining scenarios that expand the saga's universe in both scope and complexity. One recurring theme is Renesmee Cullen's role as a bridge between humans, vampires, and werewolves, highlighting the saga's enduring exploration of coexistence and ethical negotiation. In these narratives, Renesmee's hybrid nature challenges established supernatural hierarchies and moral norms, creating opportunities for conflict resolution, diplomacy, and character growth. This imagined trajectory emphasizes the saga's core themes of responsibility, love, and ethical agency while offering fresh storytelling possibilities. Romantic tension remains a central driver of fan-created Twilight 6 narratives. Renesmee's relationships, particularly with Jacob, are depicted as evolving under the pressure of supernatural challenges, societal expectations, and intergenerational responsibilities. Fans explore alternative romantic paths, love triangles, and complex emotional dynamics, all while maintaining the saga's signature interplay of passion, loyalty, and moral choice. These expanded narratives preserve the emotional resonance that has always been a hallmark of Twilight while introducing nuanced relational complexities. Global vampire politics are often a focal point in speculative continuations. Fan narratives imagine intricate alliances, rivalries, and power struggles among vampire clans across continents. Each faction is given distinct cultural practices, abilities, and ethical frameworks, providing a rich tapestry for storytelling. These dynamics not only expand the saga's mythology but also allow for exploration of leadership, justice, and morality, reinforcing the franchise's engagement with ethical complexity in fantastical settings. The Volturi remain a compelling narrative element in hypothetical sequels. Fan-created stories explore their internal hierarchies, political machinations, and moral conflicts, presenting them as multifaceted figures rather than one-dimensional villains. These narratives emphasize the tension between tradition and reform, authority and autonomy, reflecting the saga's ongoing engagement with questions of morality, governance, and ethical responsibility. The Volturi's presence ensures that Twilight 6 retains high stakes and dramatic tension. Hybrid abilities continue to be a central narrative driver. Renesmee's combination of human adaptability and vampire power introduces unique challenges and opportunities, from personal development to conflict mediation. Fan narratives often examine the ethical implications of such abilities, exploring how they affect relational dynamics, societal structures, and moral decision-making. This focus on the responsibilities associated with power aligns with the saga's established thematic concerns. Intergenerational conflict and mentorship provide fertile ground for narrative exploration. Young characters, including Renesmee, navigate expectations imposed by elders, balancing respect for tradition with the need for autonomy. Fan-created stories often depict mentorship dynamics, legacy building, and ethical decision-making across generations, reinforcing the saga's exploration of responsibility, loyalty, and growth while adding depth to character relationships. The aesthetic continuity of the saga is meticulously maintained in fan adaptations. Misty forests, dramatic skies, and character-focused cinematography recreate the immersive atmosphere of the original films. Costume, posture, and environmental details are carefully considered, ensuring that new narratives feel authentic within the established universe. This attention to visual and thematic consistency reinforces immersion and emotional resonance. Historical depth and hidden lore frequently appear in speculative narratives. Ancient vampire lineages, long-standing conflicts, and unresolved moral dilemmas provide context for contemporary storylines, enriching the narrative universe. By integrating these elements, fan narratives create multilayered, sophisticated storytelling that reflects the saga's original complexity while offering new dimensions of exploration. Ethical dilemmas remain central to Twilight 6 fan narratives. Characters are often faced with choices that challenge their moral framework, testing loyalty, love, and responsibility. Whether mediating interspecies conflicts, resolving political disputes, or navigating personal desires, these challenges ensure that fan-created stories maintain the saga's intellectual and emotional depth. Ethical complexity continues to be a defining feature of the franchise. Romantic stakes intersect with ethical challenges, creating tension and narrative drive. Fan narratives explore how love influences decisions, shapes alliances, and complicates moral judgment. By weaving romance into broader ethical and political contexts, speculative stories preserve the saga's balance of emotional engagement and thematic sophistication, ensuring that relationships remain central to plot and character development. Global fan engagement demonstrates Twilight's enduring cultural significance. Audiences across the world create fanfiction, artwork, and video adaptations, contributing to a participatory culture that sustains the saga's relevance. Online communities facilitate discussion, collaboration, and creative exchange, allowing fans to reinterpret the universe while maintaining core themes of love, morality, and identity. The psychological implications of immortality are explored in depth in fan-created narratives. Characters grapple with existential concerns, long-term relational commitments, and the consequences of ethical choices over extended lifespans. These explorations maintain intellectual engagement while adding emotional complexity, allowing the saga to address universal questions about human experience through a supernatural lens. Modern societal and technological integration often features in Twilight 6 scenarios. Vampire communities interact with global communication networks, digital platforms, and modern human society, creating novel narrative tensions. These adaptations allow the saga to remain relevant to contemporary audiences while preserving thematic continuity and maintaining fidelity to established mythos. Character development remains a cornerstone of speculative narratives. Renesmee, Jacob, and other new characters confront internal conflicts, relational dilemmas, and ethical choices, fostering growth, self-awareness, and maturity. This emphasis on personal development ensures that fan-created storylines retain the saga's emotional resonance while introducing new generational perspectives. Strategic and ethical problem-solving is a recurring motif in imagined continuations. Characters navigate conflicts through intelligence, diplomacy, and moral reasoning, balancing power with ethical responsibility. Fan narratives often highlight these aspects, reflecting the saga's engagement with leadership, decision-making, and relational negotiation, and reinforcing thematic depth. Romantic and ethical tensions remain intertwined. Emotional bonds influence decisions, alliances, and conflict resolution, sustaining the saga's integration of love and morality. Fan-created stories frequently explore relational complexity, alternative romantic outcomes, and interspecies dynamics, ensuring that relationships continue to drive narrative tension and thematic exploration. Moral responsibility is examined at multiple levels: individual, familial, and societal. Characters navigate inherited ethical frameworks, communal obligations, and supernatural hierarchies, negotiating the balance between autonomy and collective welfare. Fan narratives emphasize these dynamics, reinforcing the saga's nuanced exploration of ethics, loyalty, and relational accountability across generations. Aesthetic fidelity is key to maintaining narrative immersion. Visual consistency in character design, environmental detail, and cinematic composition ensures that fan-created content aligns with the established universe. This approach enhances emotional engagement and narrative cohesion, making speculative stories feel authentic and resonant within the Twilight universe. Cross-generational storytelling is frequently employed in Twilight 6 fan narratives. Interactions between established characters and new protagonists emphasize mentorship, legacy, and continuity, providing opportunities for ethical exploration and character growth. This narrative strategy maintains coherence while introducing fresh perspectives and conflicts, enriching the saga's universe and sustaining audience interest. The enduring fascination with a potential Twilight 6 underscores the saga's cultural, emotional, and narrative significance. Through global fan participation, academic study, creative reinterpretation, and ongoing discussion, the Twilight universe continues to inspire imagination and engagement. Its themes of love, morality, identity, and supernatural intrigue ensure that the saga remains a culturally rich, enduring, and deeply resonant narrative phenomenon. Fan engagement with Twilight has evolved into a sustained cultural phenomenon, with audiences not merely consuming content but actively contributing to its expansion. Speculative narratives imagining Twilight 6 serve as prime examples of this engagement, as fans explore new character arcs, ethical dilemmas, and supernatural challenges. By creating these continuations, fans ensure the saga remains relevant, dynamic, and immersive, highlighting the transformative power of participatory storytelling in shaping the narrative universe. Renesmee Cullen's potential role in Twilight 6 continues to captivate fan imagination. Her hybrid nature positions her uniquely between human, vampire, and werewolf societies, allowing narratives to explore coexistence, diplomacy, and moral negotiation. These stories delve into her personal growth, emotional resilience, and strategic thinking, emphasizing the saga's thematic core of responsibility and ethical agency. Fan narratives often present her as a symbol of reconciliation, bridging ancient conflicts while navigating her own moral and emotional journey. Romantic complexity remains central in fan-created sequels. Renesmee's relationship with Jacob Black, along with other potential romantic dynamics, is depicted with heightened emotional nuance. Fans explore challenges posed by supernatural conflicts, ethical dilemmas, and intergenerational pressures, ensuring that love continues to be both a source of narrative tension and moral exploration. This emphasis on relational complexity sustains the saga's emotional resonance while offering fresh storytelling possibilities. Global vampire politics often serve as the backdrop for Twilight Saga narratives. Fan-created stories envision intricate networks of alliances, rivalries, and leadership struggles among vampire clans worldwide. Each faction is portrayed with distinct ethical codes, cultural norms, and supernatural abilities, allowing fans to explore themes of governance, justice, and responsibility. By expanding the saga's political landscape, these narratives enrich the mythology while maintaining continuity with the original series. The Volturi remain an enduring source of narrative tension. Fan interpretations frequently depict them as morally complex, navigating internal disputes, challenges to authority, and evolving interpretations of vampire law. These stories highlight the saga's focus on morality, power, and ethical responsibility, ensuring that conflict remains both intellectually and emotionally engaging. By portraying the Volturi in shades of gray rather than as one-dimensional antagonists, fan narratives reinforce the saga's sophisticated ethical framework. Hybrid abilities, particularly those of Renesmee, are pivotal to fan-created storylines. Her powers combine human adaptability with vampire strength, creating ethical dilemmas and strategic opportunities. Fans explore how these abilities influence interspecies relations, moral decisions, and leadership challenges. This focus underscores the saga's central exploration of the responsibilities that come with power, emphasizing ethical decision-making in high-stakes contexts. Intergenerational dynamics remain central to Twilight Saga narratives. Younger characters often navigate the expectations imposed by older vampires and established societal hierarchies. Fan stories highlight mentorship, legacy, and the negotiation between tradition and innovation, reflecting the saga's ongoing exploration of autonomy, moral responsibility, and relational complexity. These narratives ensure continuity while introducing fresh perspectives. Aesthetic continuity is meticulously maintained in fan adaptations. Environmental design, character costumes, and cinematographic techniques replicate the immersive quality of the original films. By preserving visual and thematic fidelity, fan narratives enhance immersion and reinforce emotional resonance, allowing speculative stories to feel authentic within the established Twilight universe. This attention to detail sustains both narrative cohesion and fan engagement. Historical depth and hidden lore are frequently expanded upon. Fan-created narratives often explore ancient vampire lineages, unresolved conflicts, and historical ethical dilemmas, enriching the narrative universe. These stories provide context for contemporary events and character motivations, allowing fans to weave intricate, multi-layered plots that honor the saga's original complexity while expanding its scope. Ethical dilemmas continue to drive narrative engagement. Characters face choices that test loyalty, love, and responsibility, whether in managing interspecies relations, navigating political intrigue, or confronting personal desires. By foregrounding moral decision-making, fan narratives preserve the saga's intellectual and emotional depth, ensuring that the Twilight universe remains a site for reflective storytelling. Romantic tension intersects with ethical and political challenges. Love influences decision-making, shapes alliances, and complicates moral judgment. Fan narratives explore alternative romantic outcomes, relational dilemmas, and intergenerational consequences, maintaining the saga's balance of emotional intensity and thematic sophistication. Romance remains a central vehicle for narrative exploration and audience engagement. Global engagement reinforces Twilight's cultural significance. Fans worldwide produce creative content, participate in discussions, and contribute to collaborative storytelling. These interactions create a participatory culture that sustains the saga's relevance and vitality. By allowing diverse interpretations and perspectives, the Twilight universe continues to resonate across cultural and linguistic boundaries. The psychological ramifications of immortality are central in speculative narratives. Characters grapple with long-term relational commitments, existential reflection, and ethical responsibility, reflecting the saga's deeper engagement with human experience through a supernatural lens. Fan narratives often highlight the emotional and cognitive dimensions of immortality, adding depth and nuance to character development. Modern technology and societal integration are frequently incorporated. Vampire communities interact with global communication networks, digital platforms, and contemporary human society, creating narrative tension and opportunities for innovation. This approach ensures that Twilight remains relevant to modern audiences while maintaining continuity with established mythos, demonstrating the saga's adaptability. Character growth is a consistent focus in fan-created Twilight 6 stories. Protagonists navigate personal conflicts, relational challenges, and ethical dilemmas, fostering maturity, self-awareness, and strategic insight. This emphasis on growth ensures continuity with the saga's thematic foundation while allowing for creative expansion and intergenerational storytelling. Strategic and ethical problem-solving is a recurring motif. Characters employ diplomacy, intelligence, and moral reasoning to navigate complex conflicts, balancing power with responsibility. These narratives emphasize leadership, ethical choice, and relational negotiation, reinforcing the saga's intellectual and thematic depth. Fans use these elements to explore sophisticated storytelling within the supernatural framework. Romantic and ethical tensions remain intertwined. Emotional bonds shape decisions, influence alliances, and determine outcomes. Fan narratives explore relational complexity, alternative romantic paths, and ethical consequences, ensuring that love remains central to narrative tension and thematic exploration. This interplay sustains the saga's emotional and moral resonance. Moral responsibility is examined across individual, familial, and societal levels. Characters navigate inherited ethical frameworks, communal obligations, and supernatural hierarchies, negotiating the balance between personal autonomy and collective welfare. Fan-created narratives emphasize these dynamics, reinforcing Twilight's nuanced exploration of loyalty, ethics, and relational accountability across generations. Aesthetic fidelity continues to enhance narrative immersion. Environmental and character design, cinematography, and visual symbolism replicate the original saga's immersive atmosphere. Maintaining these elements ensures that speculative narratives align with the saga's established tone and style, reinforcing emotional engagement and narrative authenticity. Cross-generational storytelling enriches Twilight 6 scenarios. Interactions between established and new characters emphasize mentorship, legacy, and continuity while introducing fresh perspectives and conflicts. This narrative strategy maintains coherence, deepens thematic exploration, and sustains audience engagement, bridging past, present, and future in the saga's universe. Finally, the ongoing fascination with Twilight 6 underscores the saga's enduring significance. Through fan media, scholarly study, and global engagement, the Twilight universe continues to inspire creativity, discussion, and emotional investment. Themes of love, morality, identity, and supernatural intrigue remain central, ensuring that the franchise endures as a culturally rich, narratively layered, and deeply resonant phenomenon for years to come. Renesmee receives word of a distant vampire coven in northern Asia whose governance is authoritarian and resistant to external collaboration. This coven has begun monitoring hybrids with suspicion, framing them as threats to their territorial control. Renesmee organizes a diplomatic envoy, including trusted hybrids and vampires, to engage with the coven and assess the situation. Jacob leads a reconnaissance team into the region, mapping terrain, observing local dynamics, and preparing contingency strategies. The team encounters hybrid communities already impacted by the coven's restrictive policies, including isolated hybrids who struggle to control their abilities due to lack of guidance. Jacob begins developing integration plans that respect local autonomy while promoting collaboration. Bella and Edward accompany Renesmee to meet the Coven leaders. They emphasize ethical leadership, the benefits of cooperation, and the importance of stability over fear. Their approach focuses on dialogue, demonstration of power used responsibly, and presenting hybrids as allies rather than adversaries. Renesmee encounters a young hybrid, Kaelin, whose abilities include atmospheric manipulation. Kaelin struggles to control sudden environmental shifts, creating unintended consequences. Renesmee mentors him patiently, combining practical training with lessons in ethical responsibility and strategic application of power. Jacob mediates tensions within his pack, as some younger wolves express skepticism toward hybrid integration. He demonstrates the success of previous collaborative missions, highlighting trust, discipline, and shared purpose as essential components of unity. These moments emphasize leadership, patience, and the balance between authority and guidance. A subplot develops around a hybrid named Saphira, capable of influencing electromagnetic fields. Initially, her powers are volatile, causing accidental disruptions. Renesmee, with assistance from Bella and Edward, guides her through structured exercises in precision, ethical judgment, and cooperative application, illustrating the saga's ongoing theme of responsibility paired with power. Alice experiences visions indicating a potential uprising in the isolated Northern Coven if hybrids are perceived as invaders. Renesmee plans a preventative strategy, combining diplomacy, demonstrations of ethical restraint, and collaborative exercises to prevent escalation without aggression. Jasper leads hybrid groups in emotional resilience training, teaching them to regulate stress, maintain focus under pressure, and channel volatile emotions constructively. This ensures that both combat and diplomatic missions are executed with precision and moral clarity. Renesmee establishes communication networks linking distant supernatural communities. These networks allow rapid response, coordination of mentorship programs, and monitoring of potential threats. The networks symbolize an emerging global unity among vampires, hybrids, and werewolves. Jacob leads the first joint simulation involving hybrid vampire-werewolf units from multiple regions. The exercise tests coordination, strategy, ethical decision-making, and leadership under stress. Participants learn the value of collaboration, foresight, and restraint, reinforcing core saga themes. Bella and Edward document the outcomes of these exercises, updating their encyclopedia with practical lessons, strategic frameworks, and ethical guidance. Their contributions preserve knowledge and provide a reference for future leaders facing unpredictable challenges. Renesmee mentors hybrid leaders on cross-cultural ethics, emphasizing respect for local traditions, understanding regional dynamics, and balancing power with diplomacy. This curriculum ensures that emerging leaders are capable of navigating complex, globalized supernatural society. A subplot unfolds with a hybrid named Orion, whose abilities involve kinetic energy manipulation. Initially destructive, Orion learns to channel energy constructively under Renesmee's guidance, applying his powers for defense, infrastructure stabilization, and tactical innovation. His growth mirrors the saga's emphasis on discipline, mentorship, and moral responsibility. Jacob oversees hybrid werewolf units tasked with environmental restoration projects in northern regions. These missions emphasize collaboration, sustainability, and the positive application of supernatural abilities for community benefit. They also provide opportunities for younger wolves and hybrids to develop leadership skills in practical contexts. Alice continues her mentorship with precognitive hybrids, guiding them to interpret visions responsibly. She emphasizes ethical foresight, critical thinking, and informed decision-making rather than deterministic action. These lessons reinforce the moral framework underpinning leadership across supernatural communities. Jasper leads advanced emotional intelligence workshops for hybrids and vampires, teaching empathy, regulation of volatile powers, and constructive conflict resolution. These programs strengthen interpersonal bonds, reduce risk during high-stress situations, and prepare leaders for complex decision-making. Renesmee implements a hybrid leadership council for northern regions, blending elders' experience with younger leaders' innovation. The council mediates disputes, guides policy, and ensures continuity of ethical mentorship programs, creating a stable governance structure. Jacob negotiates with local werewolf elders who resist integration, demonstrating successful hybrid collaborations, shared victories, and mutual benefits of cooperation. His diplomacy emphasizes respect, trust building, and tangible results rather than coercion. Renesmee observes the northern hybrid communities thriving under structured mentorship. Young hybrids demonstrate creativity in combining powers, ethical reasoning, and cooperative strategies. Their successes signal a new era of responsible power use and interspecies collaboration. The story concludes this segment with a panoramic view of the Northern Coven, integrated hybrid communities, and cooperative werewolf packs. Renesmee and Jacob stand together, reflecting on the journey from conflict and suspicion to unity, ethical governance, and ongoing potential. The saga emphasizes continuity, resilience, and the promise of sustainable peace in a growing supernatural world. The mist clung to the forests of Forks like a living veil, shadows shifting with every movement of the wind as Renesmee Cullen walked through the familiar paths now transformed by conflict and growth. The forest had been the site of battles that tested not only strength but the limits of perception, strategy, and moral choice. Each step she took reminded her of the weight she bore, the lives intertwined with her decisions, and the delicate balance she now maintained between human empathy and hybrid power. Her golden eyes, once a quiet reflection of curiosity, now radiated authority, awareness, and a depth of experience that belied her young age. Jacob followed closely, a coiled presence of loyalty, instinct, and unwavering support, his every motion in tune with her own as if they shared a silent, intuitive language. Their bond, forged through imprinting and strengthened by shared trials, was more than affection, it was a seamless collaboration that allowed them to navigate the chaos of supernatural warfare with precision and trust. The battles they had endured were etched into the very fabric of the forest, the remnants of shattered branches, upturned earth, and the faint scent of lingering energy serving as constant reminders of the stakes they faced. Renesmee's powers had expanded, her abilities to manipulate perception, anticipate threats, and coordinate allies growing exponentially under the careful guidance of Selim and the watchful mentorship of her parents. She learned to project illusions, to sense emotional currents, and to act with strategic foresight, turning the tide of confrontations not through brute force alone but through a mastery of insight and subtlety. The wolves of La Push, coordinated with unparalleled efficiency, circled the battlefield with a blend of instinct and tactical innovation, their presence amplifying the hybrid vampire alliance that had proven critical to their survival. Each interaction, each maneuver, became a dance of anticipation, skill, and trust, with Renesmee as the guiding force ensuring cohesion among allies and focus against their adversaries. In quieter moments, the weight of leadership pressed upon her in ways that combat could not. She would stand at the edge of streams or cliffs, reflecting on choices made and consequences faced, considering the delicate moral balances that shaped every action. Her bond with Jacob provided both grounding and perspective, their conversations exploring the ethics of intervention, the responsibilities of power, and the necessity of empathy even in moments of dire necessity. Selim's mentorship extended beyond technique into philosophy, revealing the histories of hybrids and vampires, the mistakes of past generations, and the ethical dilemmas inherent in wielding abilities that could alter the course of lives. With every lesson, every meditation, Renesmee became not only stronger but wiser, her understanding of her role within the supernatural world deepening with each reflection and experience. The Cullens, in turn, acted as both anchors and guides, balancing their centuries of knowledge with the immediate challenges of their daughter's leadership. Edward's strategic insight, combined with Bella's moral compass, allowed Renesmee to navigate decisions with nuance, understanding both immediate tactical advantages and long-term consequences. Emmett and Rosalie offered models of strength, resilience, and protection, reinforcing the idea that power was most effective when tempered by loyalty and foresight. Carlyle's calm, methodical approach ensured that healing and recovery were handled efficiently, while Esme's nurturing presence reminded everyone that emotional stability was as crucial as physical readiness. Alice and Jasper coordinated both visions and emotional stability, guiding strategic decisions while maintaining cohesion among allies facing intense psychological and physical pressure. The Umbral Court, though largely defeated, remained a shadow on the horizon, their small but dangerous factions testing boundaries and probing for weaknesses. Renesmee's coalition responded with vigilance, integrating intelligence from global vampire and hybrid networks while training the next generation of hybrids to anticipate, counter, and neutralize threats. These efforts extended far beyond Forks, reaching European ruins, Asian covens, and distant American strongholds, building a network of interconnected allies capable of rapid response. Each encounter reinforced the lessons learned: unity was strength, empathy was necessary even for the powerful, and foresight was as critical as action. Renesmee's leadership became emblematic of a new paradigm, one where morality, strategy, and supernatural capability were interwoven seamlessly. Training became a ritual as rigorous as it was enlightening. Renesmee practiced controlling her illusions, anticipating psychic disturbances, and refining combat skills that blended human, vampire, and hybrid elements. Jacob trained alongside her, integrating wolf instincts with strategic foresight to enhance their combined efficiency, while Selim introduced ancient hybrid techniques that added historical depth and new layers of capability. Each session was exhausting yet transformative, forging both confidence and discipline. The development of these abilities was mirrored by her emotional growth, as Renesmee learned the subtle art of leadership: when to act decisively, when to counsel, and when to step back and allow others to contribute. The battles themselves were choreographed with a meticulous eye for realism and cinematic impact. Forests became dynamic arenas where speed, perception, and strength collided. Visual effects captured the fluidity of supernatural movement without breaking immersion, showing Renesmee and allies in a continuous interplay of strategy, reflex, and cooperation. Stunt coordination, CGI, and sound design were layered seamlessly, creating moments of breathtaking clarity where the audience could feel both the tension of conflict and the stakes of personal choice. These sequences underscored the themes of unity, responsibility, and the balance of power, with Renesmee at the center as both participant and guiding force. Between conflicts, the emotional aftermath shaped the narrative as profoundly as the battles themselves. Allies mourned losses, celebrated victories, and forged deeper bonds through shared experience. Renesmee took time to mentor younger hybrids, passing on techniques, ethical guidance, and strategies for control. Her influence extended globally, as distant covens recognized her leadership and sought counsel, creating a network of shared knowledge and cooperative action. These interactions reinforced her growth, shaping her into a figure whose authority was rooted in wisdom, empathy, and demonstrated capability. The romantic and emotional dimensions of her life remained central to her identity. Jacob's presence was both a source of grounding and strategic advantage, their combined instincts allowing them to operate with a near-telepathic understanding. Their relationship was defined by respect, trust, and shared responsibility, illustrating the nuanced interplay between personal connection and leadership in a world dominated by power and moral complexity. Moments of quiet reflection and dialogue between them provided balance to the intensity of global conflict, reinforcing the emotional core of the story. Meanwhile, Edward and Bella navigated the evolving dynamics of their family with care, allowing Renesmee autonomy while offering guidance rooted in experience. Their support emphasized the values of compassion, integrity, and foresight, framing the narrative's moral center. Each family interaction, whether in counsel, training, or shared quiet moments, underscored the themes of unity and intergenerational wisdom, showing that leadership was strengthened by love as much as by power. Global supernatural politics became increasingly important as Renesmee established communication with covens across continents. Diplomacy, alliance building, and subtle negotiation were integrated into her role as leader, reflecting a maturity beyond her years. Each conversation, alliance, or mediation highlighted her ability to blend empathy with strategic insight, ensuring that the network of vampires and hybrids remained cohesive and prepared. These efforts suggested a vision for the future, a world where cooperation, knowledge sharing, and ethical leadership were paramount, even amidst immortal power struggles. The Umbral Court's residual threats provided ongoing tension, testing the coalition's adaptability and vigilance. Subtle manipulations, espionage, and minor skirmishes served as reminders that victory was never final and that preparedness was continuous. Renesmee's response emphasized proactive engagement, intelligence gathering, and the ethical application of her powers, showcasing the nuanced responsibilities of leadership in a complex, supernatural ecosystem. Renesmee's mentorship initiatives included structured training programs for young hybrids, collaborative exercises with wolf packs, and diplomatic missions with distant covens. Each program emphasized ethical decision-making, strategic foresight, and integration of hybrid abilities with both human empathy and supernatural instincts. These initiatives ensured continuity of knowledge and established a model for future leaders in the supernatural world. The Cullens household became a hub for planning, training, and healing. Emmett and Rosalie managed physical training and combat readiness, Carlisle oversaw medical and strategic analysis, and Esme fostered emotional resilience. Alice and Jasper coordinated foresight and emotional guidance, creating an environment where intellect, emotion, and supernatural capability worked in harmony. This microcosm mirrored the global coalition, emphasizing the interplay of multiple strengths in achieving cohesion and readiness. In cinematic terms, the film's production elevated these narrative arcs through meticulous design. Visual effects, dynamic camera work, and immersive lighting captured both the grandeur of global conflicts and the intimacy of character moments. Costuming reflected growth and identity, from Renesmee's hybrid-inspired attire to the Umbral Court's ancient motifs, blending aesthetic beauty with narrative symbolism. Music and sound design underscored emotional beats, enhancing both tension and reflective moments. The trailer encapsulated these elements, teasing battles, emotional stakes, and global intrigue without revealing critical plot twists. Marketing strategies integrated digital interactivity, transmedia storytelling, and immersive fan engagement, ensuring that audiences experienced the narrative both within and beyond the theater. Subtle world-building details and promotional materials invited speculation, discussion, and engagement across the franchise's global fanbase. Critics lauded the film's blend of spectacle and intimacy, emphasizing Renesmee's centrality, the depth of character development, and the expansion of supernatural lore. Discussions highlighted ethical complexity, leadership themes, and global strategic implications, framing the narrative as both thrilling entertainment and thoughtful exploration of power, morality, and human hybrid integration. Merchandising extended the cinematic experience, offering collectibles, apparel, and narrative-related items that reflected character evolution, supernatural abilities, and iconic moments. Fans embraced these opportunities to connect tangibly with the story, deepening engagement and reinforcing the narrative's cultural resonance. The epilogue depicted Renesmee standing atop a cliff overlooking the ocean, twilight merging with dawn, symbolizing the balance she had achieved between her human and hybrid natures. Allies, family, and global partners were represented visually and narratively, illustrating the breadth of her influence and the ongoing vigilance required in a complex, supernatural world. Hints of future threats, global collaboration, and continued mentorship suggested that while immediate conflicts had concluded, her journey, and that of the supernatural community, was ongoing. In essence, the Twilight Saga 6, Dawn of Eternity merged narrative depth, cinematic spectacle, and thematic resonance, creating a film that balanced action, emotion, and ethical exploration. Renesmee's transformation into a central figure of power, empathy, and leadership served as both culmination and launching point for future narratives, leaving audiences with a sense of awe, engagement, and anticipation. The story's careful weaving of personal growth, global strategy, and supernatural mythology established it as a landmark installment in the saga, bridging past narratives with expansive possibilities for the future. The Twilight Saga's cultural impact extends far beyond the pages of the novels and the frames of the films. It has become a global phenomenon, shaping perceptions of romance, morality, and supernatural storytelling. Twilight 6, whether imagined by fans or speculated as a potential continuation, represents an extension of this influence, exploring how new generations of characters interact with established ones, negotiate ethical dilemmas, and navigate complex relationships. Fan speculation highlights the saga's enduring relevance, showing that its themes continue to resonate across time, space, and cultural contexts. Renesmee Cullen emerges as a central figure in Twilight 6 fan narratives, representing both continuity and innovation within the saga. Her hybrid identity allows her to serve as a bridge between human, vampire, and werewolf communities, exploring themes of coexistence, responsibility, and ethical negotiation. Fans imagine her confronting both internal and external challenges, developing leadership skills, and making morally complex decisions that affect multiple societies. Her journey emphasizes the saga's commitment to exploring identity, moral growth, and relational dynamics across generations. Romantic complexity is a hallmark of fan-created sequels. Renesmee's relationship with Jacob Black and other potential romantic arcs are depicted with heightened nuance, exploring emotional depth, loyalty, and ethical challenges. Fan narratives often introduce alternative romantic possibilities, exploring love triangles, unexpected alliances, and the tension between personal desire and communal responsibility. These explorations maintain the saga's hallmark interplay between passion and morality, ensuring that emotional engagement drives narrative development. Global vampire politics continue to be a rich area of speculation. Fan-created stories envision alliances, rivalries, and power struggles among vampire factions worldwide. Each group possesses distinct cultural norms, ethical codes, and supernatural abilities, allowing narratives to explore governance, diplomacy, and justice. These expanded political dynamics maintain the saga's thematic focus on morality, ethical responsibility, and leadership while enriching the universe with complexity and depth. The Volturi remain an enduring source of tension and intrigue. Fan narratives frequently depict them navigating internal disputes, reinterpretations of vampire law, and challenges to their authority. By portraying the Volturi as morally nuanced and strategically complex, these stories reinforce the saga's engagement with questions of power, ethics, and responsibility. Their presence ensures that Twilight 6 retains dramatic tension and intellectual engagement. Hybrid abilities, particularly those of Renesmee, create both opportunities and ethical challenges. Her unique powers, combining human adaptability with vampire strength, are explored in fan narratives as tools for conflict resolution, leadership, and personal growth. The ethical implications of such abilities underscore the saga's central theme: extraordinary power comes with responsibility. Fans use these abilities to explore morality, choice, and relational consequences in imaginative ways. Intergenerational dynamics remain crucial to narrative development. Young characters, including Renesmee, navigate expectations imposed by older generations while asserting autonomy and innovation. Fan narratives explore mentorship, ethical decision-making, and legacy, emphasizing the saga's exploration of autonomy, relational responsibility, and moral growth. These dynamics create a rich interplay between past, present, and future within the narrative universe. Aesthetic fidelity enhances fan-created narratives. Atmospheric environments, character design, and cinematic composition are carefully preserved, ensuring continuity with the original films. This attention to visual and thematic detail reinforces immersion and emotional resonance, allowing new storylines to feel authentic and compelling within the established Twilight universe. Historical depth and hidden lore add layers of narrative complexity. Fan narratives often delve into ancient vampire lineages, unresolved conflicts, and ethical dilemmas from previous generations. These stories contextualize contemporary events and character motivations, enriching the saga's mythology and enhancing narrative sophistication. This approach reflects the saga's original commitment to multi-layered storytelling. Ethical dilemmas remain central to Twilight 6 narratives. Characters face choices that challenge loyalty, love, and moral reasoning. Whether negotiating interspecies conflicts, making leadership decisions, or balancing personal desire with communal welfare, these dilemmas maintain the saga's intellectual and emotional depth, ensuring that ethical complexity continues to be a defining feature of storytelling. Romantic tension intersects with political and ethical challenges. Fan-created narratives explore how love shapes decision-making, alliances, and moral judgment. Alternative romantic outcomes, relational dilemmas, and intergenerational consequences maintain narrative complexity while preserving the saga's hallmark balance of emotion and morality. Global engagement reinforces Twilight's cultural significance. Fans worldwide contribute creative content, participate in discussions, and collaborate in shared storytelling. This participatory culture sustains the saga's relevance, allowing diverse interpretations and perspectives to flourish, ensuring that Twilight continues to resonate across cultural and linguistic boundaries. The psychological effects of immortality are explored in depth. Characters grapple with existential questions, relational commitments over long lifespans, and the ethical consequences of their choices. Fan narratives often emphasize introspection, moral reasoning, and emotional complexity, demonstrating that the saga addresses universal human concerns through a supernatural lens. Modern technological and societal contexts are frequently incorporated in Twilight's 6 scenarios. Vampire societies interact with global communication networks, digital platforms, and human social evolution, creating new narrative tensions and opportunities. These adaptations ensure the saga remains relevant while maintaining thematic fidelity, highlighting its adaptability. Character growth is a central narrative pillar. Protagonists confront internal conflicts, relational challenges, and ethical dilemmas, fostering maturity, resilience, and strategic insight. Fan-created narratives emphasize this growth, maintaining thematic continuity while introducing new generational perspectives and complex storytelling opportunities. Strategic and ethical problem-solving is consistently emphasized. Characters navigate conflicts through intelligence, diplomacy, and moral reasoning, balancing power with responsibility. These narratives highlight leadership, ethical decision-making, and relational negotiation, reinforcing thematic depth and audience engagement. Romantic and ethical tensions remain intertwined. Emotional bonds influence decisions, shape alliances, and determine outcomes. Fan-created stories explore relational complexity, alternative romantic possibilities, and moral consequences, ensuring that love remains central to narrative tension and thematic exploration. Moral responsibility is explored across individual, familial, and societal levels. Characters navigate inherited ethical frameworks, communal obligations, and supernatural hierarchies, negotiating autonomy with collective welfare. Fan narratives emphasize these dynamics, reinforcing Twilight's nuanced exploration of ethics, loyalty, and relational accountability across generations. Aesthetic continuity enhances immersion. Attention to environmental detail, character design, and cinematic composition ensures that speculative narratives remain consistent with the established universe. Maintaining these elements reinforces emotional engagement, narrative cohesion, and authenticity. Cross-generational storytelling enriches fan-created narratives. Interactions between established and new characters emphasize mentorship, legacy, and continuity while introducing fresh perspectives and conflicts. This approach preserves coherence, deepens thematic exploration, and sustains audience engagement, bridging past, present, and future in the saga's universe. The sustained fascination with Twilight 6 demonstrates the saga's enduring cultural, narrative, and emotional significance. Through fan engagement, academic exploration, creative reinterpretation, and global dialogue, the Twilight universe continues to inspire imagination and emotional investment. Its core themes of love, morality, identity, and supernatural intrigue ensure that the saga remains a culturally rich, narratively layered, and deeply resonant phenomenon, capable of captivating audiences for generations. A subtle tremor ripples through the supernatural world as reports emerge of previously unknown vampire covens inhabiting the hidden valleys of South America. These covens, centuries removed from the mainstream vampire society, exhibit radical variations in abilities and societal structure. Renesmee organizes a delegation of hybrids, vampires, and werewolves to establish contact, emphasizing diplomacy, understanding, and ethical observation. Jacob leads a reconnaissance team into the dense Amazonian forests, relying on his pack's acute senses to navigate treacherous terrain. They encounter hybrid communities whose abilities are closely tied to nature, including plant growth manipulation, camouflage, and limited environmental control. These encounters expand the understanding of hybrid diversity and the potential roles they can play in global supernatural governance. Bella and Edward act as mediators during early negotiations with these isolated covens. They encounter cultural and philosophical differences, requiring patience, empathy, and diplomacy. Some covens resist integration, valuing isolation and self-sufficiency over collaboration. These interactions reinforce the importance of choice, consent, and respect for autonomy in forming alliances. Renesmee initiates mentorship programs tailored to the new hybrids, teaching them the ethical use of powers and encouraging responsible interaction with other supernatural beings. She emphasizes balance, showing that abilities must serve collective welfare rather than personal gain. These programs also include conflict resolution and emotional intelligence training. Kaylin and Seraphine are appointed as senior instructors, mentoring younger hybrids in both combat strategy and ethical decision-making. Their growth reflects the transformative power of experience, guidance, and moral grounding. They serve as role models, demonstrating that raw talent must be honed with wisdom. Jacob faces tensions within his pack as some younger wolves struggle to adapt to cooperative strategies with hybrids. He implements team-building exercises designed to emphasize trust, coordination, and ethical restraint. These activities include navigation challenges, simulated defensive scenarios, and collaborative problem-solving tasks. The Cullen family organizes annual global gatherings for vampires, hybrids, and werewolves, fostering cultural exchange, alliance building, and ethical dialogue. These events serve as both celebratory and educational, showcasing achievements, exploring new abilities, and discussing emerging challenges. Renesmee begins to document these gatherings, creating a comprehensive compendium of hybrid abilities, ethical frameworks, and governance models. This living document becomes a central reference for future leaders, blending history, strategy, and moral guidance. Alice's premonitions reveal subtle disturbances in supernatural energy around remote locations, indicating the existence of dormant threats. Renesmee organizes exploratory missions to investigate these anomalies, focusing on observation, diplomacy, and containment rather than immediate confrontation. During one mission, a hybrid named Lyra demonstrates an unprecedented ability to manipulate shadows, creating stealth strategies and defensive shields. Renesmee guides her in ethical use, emphasizing restraint, consent, and non-lethal applications. Lyra's development exemplifies the saga's continued exploration of moral responsibility in tandem with power. Jacob oversees integration exercises with hybrid werewolf units, challenging them to work cohesively across diverse abilities. The exercises include obstacle courses, strategic simulations, and ethical decision-making scenarios. Participants learn that coordination, empathy, and strategic thinking outweigh raw strength alone. Bella and Edward continue to expand the supernatural encyclopedia, incorporating newly discovered powers, coven histories, and training methodologies. Their ongoing documentation preserves knowledge, ensures accountability, and guides future generations in ethical leadership. Renesmee establishes a council of hybrid elders, providing guidance to young leaders and ensuring continuity in mentorship. The council evaluates ethical dilemmas, mediates disputes, and advises on global strategy, emphasizing the importance of experience and moral oversight. A subplot develops around a hybrid named Arion, whose ability to manipulate sound waves is initially overwhelming. Through mentorship and guided training, Arion learns to control his powers for communication, defense, and subtle influence, highlighting the importance of guidance and structured practice in harnessing extraordinary abilities. Jacob's pack encounters another isolated werewolf community with deeply ingrained skepticism toward hybrids. Through negotiation, demonstration of collaboration, and joint training exercises, Jacob successfully bridges cultural divides, reinforcing the importance of diplomacy, patience, and shared purpose. Renesmee discovers a hidden vampire coven whose abilities are intertwined with celestial phenomena, such as moonlight amplification and star-aligned strength. She carefully studies their powers, integrating their knowledge into training programs while respecting their cultural autonomy. Alice continues guiding hybrids with precognitive abilities, emphasizing foresight without determinism. She teaches that visions are tools for preparation, not mandates for action, reinforcing ethical frameworks and personal agency. Jasper implements emotional stability programs, teaching hybrids to regulate feelings, manage stress, and channel intense emotions into constructive outcomes. This ensures that high-stakes conflicts can be navigated without unnecessary violence or chaos. The Cullen family begins coordinating environmental stewardship projects, leveraging hybrid abilities to restore forests, purify waterways, and stabilize ecosystems affected by supernatural conflicts. These initiatives emphasize responsibility, community service, and the positive application of power. Finally, Renesmee, Jacob, Bella, Edward, and their allies stand together overlooking a vast, interconnected network of hybrid, vampire, and werewolf communities. The scene symbolizes unity, ethical leadership, and the promise of a sustainable future. While threats remain on the horizon, the saga emphasizes preparation, cooperation, and moral clarity as the foundation for continued peace and growth. Renesmee receives reports of a secretive coalition forming in Eastern Europe, composed of vampire factions and hybrids who reject the Global Council's authority. This coalition seeks to establish its own hierarchy, believing that the current system undermines their autonomy. Recognizing the potential for destabilization, Renesmee organizes a diplomatic mission to address the issue. Jacob leads reconnaissance teams to gather intelligence on the coalition's strengths, weaknesses, and motivations. His pack uses stealth, observation, and subtle influence to map the coalition's territory and uncover the political dynamics at play. Their findings highlight both internal divisions and the coalition's capacity for coordinated action. Bella and Edward accompany Renesmee to negotiate with coalition leaders. They emphasize the benefits of collaboration, ethical power use, and the moral obligations inherent in leadership. Initial discussions are tense, as some leaders view the Cullen coalition as a threat to their sovereignty. During negotiations, a young hybrid named Elara demonstrates a unique ability to manipulate perceptions of space and distance. This power becomes a crucial tool for demonstrating defensive strategies and non-lethal conflict resolution, showcasing how hybrid abilities can serve diplomacy as well as combat. Jacob navigates tensions within his pack as some wolves question engagement with a potentially hostile coalition. He demonstrates past successes of collaboration, highlighting trust, discipline, and the importance of restraint in leadership. These moments reinforce the saga's emphasis on ethical decision-making in complex situations. Renesmee begins training a new cohort of hybrids in ethical leadership and advanced strategic thinking. She emphasizes foresight, empathy, and moral responsibility, preparing them to take on roles as regional leaders capable of resolving conflicts without unnecessary violence. Alice experiences visions indicating potential covert actions by rogue coalition members. Renesmee plans preventative measures, balancing diplomacy with strategic positioning, demonstrating the integration of foresight, preparation, and ethical action. Jasper leads emotional resilience training for hybrids and vampires, ensuring they can maintain composure, regulate emotions, and make ethical decisions under pressure. These sessions are essential for maintaining stability during high-stakes negotiations and potential skirmishes. Renesmee develops cross-cultural ethics programs, teaching hybrid leaders to respect regional traditions while guiding them toward global cooperation. These lessons prevent misunderstandings, build trust, and strengthen alliances across supernatural communities. A subplot develops with a hybrid named Talia, whose ability to manipulate kinetic energy is initially difficult to control. Renesmee mentors her in ethical application, emphasizing constructive use for defense, community building, and strategic advantage. Talia's growth exemplifies the saga's ongoing theme of disciplined power. Jacob oversees hybrid werewolf integration in Eastern Europe, conducting joint exercises that require coordination, strategy, and ethical decision-making. These simulations build trust, test leadership, and prepare units for potential conflict while reinforcing cooperative values. Bella and Edward continue documenting these developments in their encyclopedia, recording lessons learned, ethical frameworks, and strategic outcomes. Their work preserves knowledge and ensures that future generations can navigate complex scenarios effectively. Renesmee establishes a council of hybrid elders in the region, combining experienced mentors with emerging leaders. The council mediates disputes, provides guidance, and ensures continuity of ethical mentorship, reinforcing a stable governance structure. Jacob negotiates with local werewolf elders resistant to hybrid collaboration. Through demonstration of successful partnerships, shared victories, and tangible benefits, he convinces skeptics to participate in cooperative initiatives. His diplomacy emphasizes respect, evidence-based persuasion, and trust building. Renesmee oversees training programs for hybrids to refine emerging abilities. These include control of elemental powers, perception manipulation, and environmental adaptation. Training emphasizes ethical use, collaborative strategies, and moral responsibility, ensuring that powers are applied constructively. Alice mentors hybrids with precognitive abilities, teaching them to interpret visions ethically and act with discretion. She emphasizes that foresight is a tool, not a mandate, reinforcing moral clarity and responsibility in leadership decisions. Jasper implements emotional intelligence workshops, teaching hybrids and vampires to regulate emotions, empathize with allies and opponents, and resolve conflicts without unnecessary aggression. These skills enhance team cohesion and decision-making under pressure. Renesmee coordinates global monitoring networks linking supernatural communities, enabling rapid communication, conflict prevention, and mentorship oversight. These networks symbolize an emerging, interconnected supernatural society guided by ethical principles. Jacob observes that younger wolves begin to take leadership roles in these integrated networks, demonstrating maturity, strategic thinking, and ethical judgment. His mentorship ensures that leadership is distributed, prepared, and grounded in collaborative values. The narrative concludes this section with a panoramic view of a new era in the supernatural world, regional councils, hybrid academies, cooperative werewolf units, and ethical governance structures flourishing. Renesmee, Jacob, Bella, and Edward stand together, overseeing the expansion of responsible leadership, interspecies unity, and the ongoing evolution of hybrid society. The aftermath of the climactic battles left a world forever changed, with supernatural factions now more interconnected than ever. Renesmee's leadership extended far beyond Forks, as covens across continents sought her guidance and counsel. She held meetings that blended diplomacy with strategy, navigating complex interpersonal and interspecies dynamics, forging alliances that emphasized cooperation over dominance. These negotiations revealed her skill in balancing power with empathy, earning the respect of both ancient vampire elders and newly awakened hybrids who looked to her as a model of leadership. Jacob's role expanded alongside hers, serving not only as protector but as strategic partner and liaison between wolf packs and hybrid forces. He orchestrated coordinated patrols, training exercises, and defensive strategies, ensuring that regions vulnerable to umbral court influence were monitored and secured. His instinctual understanding of terrain and combat complemented Renesmee's visionary planning, creating a synergy that transformed localized defenses into a cohesive global network capable of rapid response. Renesmee also began mentoring a new generation of hybrids, teaching control of abilities, ethical leadership, and the subtleties of influencing both human and supernatural environments. These training sessions were rigorous and immersive, blending physical conditioning, psychic exercises, and scenario-based simulations. Through these efforts, she fostered a community where knowledge, morality, and strategic thinking were shared, ensuring that her influence would resonate across generations. The Cullen family maintained their guiding presence, their centuries of experience providing invaluable context for decisions of both immediate and long-term significance. Edward's wisdom in tactical analysis, Bella's moral guidance, and Carlyle's measured approach to strategy created a framework that allowed Renesmee to act decisively while remaining ethically grounded. Alice and Jasper continued to refine intelligence gathering and emotional cohesion, providing foresight and stability that supported both leadership and alliance building. Global covens began integrating their efforts, sharing intelligence on umbral court remnants, rogue hybrids, and emerging supernatural threats. Renesmee's diplomatic skills became essential, mediating disputes and ensuring that historical rivalries did not undermine collective security. Her ability to negotiate, anticipate consequences, and inspire confidence established her as a unifying force, a hybrid leader capable of transcending the fragmented politics of the supernatural world. The Umbral Court's remaining factions attempted subtle infiltrations, testing loyalty, spreading misinformation, and probing defenses. Each incident served as a reminder that vigilance was never complete and that proactive engagement was necessary. Renesmee coordinated counterintelligence, training exercises, and rapid response teams, blending both hybrid and wolf capabilities with vampire strategy to neutralize threats efficiently and ethically. Renesmee's emotional growth paralleled her expansion of influence. She balanced leadership with compassion, taking time to understand the fears, motivations, and ambitions of both allies and adversaries. Her interpersonal intelligence ensured that decisions were informed by empathy, creating trust across previously divided groups and solidifying her reputation as both a wise and powerful figure. Jacob's mentorship emphasized instinctual intelligence, rapid tactical adaptation, and the integration of wolf pack cohesion with hybrid abilities. Together, he and Renesmee developed advanced exercises that trained young hybrids in coordinated combat, perception manipulation, and environmental awareness. These programs ensured that emergent threats could be countered swiftly, reinforcing resilience and readiness across the global network. Selim's guidance continued to provide historical context, revealing forgotten hybrid techniques, ancient ethics, and strategies used by the first children. These teachings allowed Renesmee to integrate historical wisdom into contemporary strategy, ensuring that mistakes of the past were not repeated while innovations in hybrid application advanced the coalition's capabilities. Renesmee's global travel became both strategic and symbolic, visiting covens and wolf packs across continents. Each visit reinforced alliances, inspired loyalty, and showcased her mastery of diplomacy and leadership. From European castles to Asian forests and American strongholds, she demonstrated that hybrid power could coexist with respect for local traditions, emphasizing unity without domination. The Cullens adapted to these changes, balancing family responsibilities with global coordination. Bella and Edward's guidance evolved into mentorship for coalition leaders, teaching principles of morality, restraint, and foresight. Emmett and Rosalie supervised tactical training programs, ensuring physical preparedness and morale, while Carlyle monitored global intelligence and health of supernatural populations. Esme's emotional support ensured resilience, creating a psychologically stable network capable of enduring prolonged challenges. Renesmee's personal growth included exploration of creativity, reflective practices, and meditative exercises. These moments allowed her to process experiences, refine ethical frameworks, and maintain clarity amid increasing responsibility. Music, art, and literature became tools for expression and mental balance, grounding her humanity while she navigated the complexities of hybrid authority. The supernatural world witnessed a redefinition of power structures, with Renesmee's coalition emphasizing collaboration over conquest. Vampire covens, hybrid groups, and wolf packs began coordinating in shared defense initiatives, joint training programs, and cross-cultural exchanges. This global integration reflected her philosophy that unity and ethical leadership were more sustainable than fear-based dominance. Training montages depicted not only physical combat but negotiation simulations, ethical dilemmas, and rapid response exercises. These sequences highlighted the combination of intellect, empathy, and power required for effective leadership, reinforcing the narrative's thematic emphasis on responsibility alongside ability. Audiences saw the evolving sophistication of the supernatural coalition, with Renesmee as the central guiding figure. The epilogue suggested ongoing vigilance, highlighting the persistence of Umbral Court remnants, minor hybrid rebellions, and potential geopolitical shifts within the vampire world. Renesmee's role as mediator, strategist, and protector was cemented, showing that leadership involved continuous adaptation, learning, and ethical engagement. These subtle threads hinted at possible sequels and expanded universe stories. Cinematic storytelling captured both grandeur and intimacy, blending sweeping visual effects with personal moments. Forests, cliffs, oceans, and ancient ruins were depicted with a balance of realism and supernatural flair, while lighting and camera movement emphasized character development alongside spectacle. The interplay of shadow, reflection, and supernatural illumination visually reinforced thematic motifs of duality, balance, and moral complexity. The musical score complemented this duality, intertwining orchestral and electronic elements to reflect both internal struggle and external conflict. Each key moment, Renesmee's training, coalition meetings, and battles, was accentuated by sound, enhancing tension, emotional resonance, and narrative clarity. The integration of score and visual narrative created a fully immersive cinematic experience. Marketing and fan engagement were unprecedented in scale. Interactive digital platforms, global fan events, and immersive storytelling tools allowed audiences to explore the supernatural world, understand hybrid abilities, and participate in narrative-driven challenges. These initiatives strengthened franchise loyalty and expanded narrative comprehension beyond passive viewing. The film's release was strategically timed, combining holiday audience availability with franchise momentum. Critical reception highlighted character depth, expanded lore, and cinematic ambition. Renesmee's leadership arc, in particular, was praised for its complexity, ethical nuance, and balance of power with empathy, reinforcing the franchise's reputation for emotionally resonant fantasy storytelling. Merchandising, digital content, and behind-the-scenes media extended the narrative experience, providing tangible connections for fans while reinforcing story themes. Collectibles depicting hybrid abilities, iconic locations, and character interactions became both fan favorites and cultural touchstones, cementing the film's place within the franchise legacy. The Twilight Saga 6, in essence, was both culmination and beginning. It resolved immediate conflicts while establishing new narrative possibilities. Renesmee's journey from hybrid child to global leader offered lessons in morality, empathy, and strategic foresight, illustrating that true power lies not in dominance but in responsibility, collaboration, and the courage to navigate complexity with heart and intellect.